Now, that was the first noble truth, which is right views, which contains a proper understanding of cause and effect, dependent origination, as well as the Four Noble Truths. After possessing right views, we come to the second noble truth, which is right thoughts. And in simple words, we can say that right thoughts are right intentions, right differentiations, right thinking, or right enlightenment. In other words, right thought is based on right view, where we develop non-greedy and non-harmful thoughts. When our basic views about life is right, our thoughts, which from this view, should also be right. And how do we make this happen? We need to constantly question ourselves. Therefore, we need to spend a lot of time looking deep within ourselves honestly. We need to observe our thoughts honestly and recognize what is wrong with them in order to correct these incorrect thoughts. So right thought could include letting go of our greed, hatred, and ignorance, which are known as the three poisons. And right thought also means to let go of our negative thoughts in life. Right thought also includes keeping or allowing positive thoughts and attitudes to arise towards life. And before we've discussed ways to let go, and so let's once again think about how we can actually let go of the three poisons. And one possible way for us to let go of the three poisons is to practice giving. For example, we need to consider the significance of giving, the benefits of giving, and also the flaws of giving. For example, when we practice the act of giving, we need to ask ourselves a series of questions. For example, are we tending to avoid giving? For example, when you're faced with the situation where you need to do the action of giving, are you having thoughts or actions which are avoiding having to do so? This is the first question you need to ask yourself. Secondly, even if you do carry out that action of giving, what kind of intentions are you having behind this action? This is the second question. And thirdly, we need to also ask ourselves, are we giving as a diversion of suffering? For example, are we donating money to construct a temple so that the temple contains our names? It makes us look better, makes us look like generous persons. But at the same time, we're not really giving out of the intention to help other people. So we're not really alleviating people's suffering by the action of giving, but adding to our ignorance or that self-centered person. This is the third question we need to ask ourselves. And after repetitively asking ourselves all these kinds of questions as we practice the act of giving, we will slowly be able to practice what we call the foremost form or the foremost type of giving, which is to give without asking for anything in return. We're not asking people to repay us. We're not asking people to even remember our kindness. And we're giving even out of the intention that we're not even thinking of the act of giving now. We're simply carrying out this action so that it is benefiting other people. These will be the 4 steps to how we practice giving. And next thing we need to do is, as we learn to let go, we need to let go of our attachments to people as well as experiences. Why? If we become attached to the people, we become possessive of them. We don't want to share with them with other people. Imagine if you see your girlfriend or boyfriend talking to another girl or boy, then you start to act all jealous because you don't want to share your boyfriend with that other girl. And when that happens, your attachment has given rise to a sense of possessiveness as well as jealousy. And another type of attachment which we need to let go is our attachment to our body. that constant desire to want to keep our body beautiful, healthy, and that constant desire to want to have control of our body, to make sure that it always looks good, it is in its best shape, and it will not get sick. But is this possible? You can ask yourself. And when you discover that it is not possible, then your attachment to your body becomes an unfulfilled desire that gives rise to suffering. Now the next thing we need to learn to let go of is our fear. We fear a lot of things. For example, we fear loss of beloved ones. We fear unfulfilled desires. We fear uncomfortable experiences, and we even fear certain memories, dreams, or imaginations, as well as problems in our lives. But there is something which we need to realize, which is the fact that every phenomena will arise and also cease to exist in the end. Therefore, they all come and go without ever possessing a substantial self. In other words, they are unreal, they're empty. Therefore, there's no need to cling on to such fears. As you slowly talk to yourself this way, you strengthen your mind against your fears. By thinking in this mode, you will slowly learn to let go of your attachment to your fears. Therefore, having done all of this, we'll realize that right thoughts help us apply our right views into our daily lives. And it would also help us realize that it's not the world that makes us uncomfortable. It's the attitude which we have that affects how we feel or think. And at that stage, what we need to do is to simply watch them come and go. Try not to become attached to these feelings, and slowly their influence on us will decrease. After doing that, we will slowly learn to strengthen our mindfulness of the truth, because we have been able to direct our thoughts onto the positive and the right sides of this world most of the time. Therefore, that mindfulness will slowly become strengthened. In other words, we are maintaining a mind of compassion, gentleness, clarity, purity, and no anger, so that our mind is always coherent with the Dharma, and so that we're closer to Buddhahood. This is what right thought can allow us to do. So after having right view, right thought, we're off to a pretty good start. Then we learn to discipline the way we behave and the way we interact with this world. Therefore, the next thing in the Noble Eightfold Path will be right speech. Our speech is our most direct way to communicate with other people. But have there been times when you think to yourself or secretly say to yourself, "Oh, I wish I hadn't said that," or "I think I offended him by what I said"? Has that ever happened to you? If that has ever happened, that means you require the help of right speech to help you communicate and interact with the world and other people more correctly. As you realize that wrongful speeches have caused us a lot of problem. When we lie, or when we badmouth other people, or when we talk without thinking, when we gossip, or even when we talk about nothing, we tend to cause trouble for not only ourselves, but other people. Therefore, the Buddha taught us the importance of right speech, which means using words that are righteous, true, and morally acceptable. Now, there are a few qualities of right speech we need to think about and get to know. And they are the following. First of all, right speech has to be truthful. Secondly, right speech is for the better. It shouldn't be malicious. Thirdly, right speech is kind. It can never be harsh or coarse. Fourthly, right speech is honest. It's never useless or purposeless. With such qualities within your speech, you're guaranteed that you're following the path of right speech. And what right speech can do for us is to help us not to create bad karma by the things we say. We will even realize that within the 10 unwholesome karmas, the 4 of them are made up by speech. Or 4 of these unwholesome karmas are caused by speech. That's more than the other 2 components of how we create bad karma, which is through thoughts and behavior. And what are these 4 unwholesome karmas caused by speech? First of all, it's lying, which means we say things to cover up the truth or to confuse people. And secondly, we speak with duplicity, which means by being one who bends with the wind, or being a two-faced person. In other words, this is someone who says one thing to this person and not another to that person to create disharmony. And the 4th unwholesome karma caused by speech is harsh speech, which means we say things that hurt other people's feelings, such as swearing and when we talk loud or forcefully. All of these will hurt other people. And the 4th unwholesome karma caused by speech is what we call idle speech, which means untruthful speech, or truthful speech that has been spoken at the wrong time, or even truthful speech that leads to someone's suffering, or truthful speech that has no beginning or end, and even truthful speech that is disorganized or presented in an unreasonable manner. All of this make up idle speech. Therefore, these are things which we need to be very careful with as we talk to other people and interact with other people through speech. So once again, right speech means saying things the right way at the same time. As we understand that one word can save a country, and one word can also destroy a nation. From this we can see that words are very powerful, and words can be used to bring great harm to other people or to bring benefit to them. In a way, we can say that the mind actually controls the mouth. But in a lot of cases, the mouth often seems to be able to talk by itself without any forethoughts or any consideration for the consequences of what it says. The reason for this is language is so close to us. It's such an important part of our minds that it often becomes animated seemingly without our consent. This is why the Buddha constantly exhorted his followers to watch what they say, because it is very easy to say the wrong thing. And the Buddha also introduced the 4 guidelines concerning speech, which is to tell the truth. In other words, don't lie. And secondly, to show compassion in our words to bring gentleness and kindness into this world. Thirdly, we need to be encouraging with our speech. Don't hold back in saying things that other people may need to hear. Fourthly, we need to be helpful. We need to explain and teach without words. Without words, we'll be able to satisfy other people's needs. So these are the 4 guidelines concerning speech. After right speech, then we need to learn to apply right action. Right action represents the kinds of behaviors that we carry out. As we've said before, the workings of our mind is influenced by right thoughts. Our use of language is influenced by right speech. Then the things our body do is influenced by right action. And what does right action include? Right action includes behaviors that keep one's body, speech, and mind pure by not killing, not stealing, and not committing sexual misconduct. However, these are still passive ways of preventing oneself from committing evil deeds. The right attitude towards right action is to protect life, be kind and compassionate, and give generously. Furthermore, living a regular and disciplined life is also called right action. For example, maintaining a right amount of sleep, a right amount of food intake, a right amount of exercise, as well as rest and work. Not only do these ensure good health, but they will also increase our working efficiency. These are also important elements for enhancing family harmony and peace in society. Therefore, we need to be very careful with the actions which we take out.